So they told me that, this was an idea for this sermon series, and I had to laugh. I didn't tell anybody because I was kind of embarrassed, but I was like, I can't tell you how long after I had given my life to Jesus that people would say the word theology to me, and I had no idea what they're talking about. And it was usually things like, you got to be careful because, now that you're an intern at the church, now you got to make sure that you've got real good theology, amen? And I'd go, totally, yeah. You know what that means? No. The easy way for me to think about theology is, my theology is just what I think or believe about God. Your theology is what you think or believe about God. So you may not have ever used the word before, but we all have one. I have a theology. You have a theology. Atheists have a theology. We all have one. It's like worshiping, right? It's not whether or not you're a worshiper. It's who or what are you worshiping? We're all worshipers. We all have a theology. And so in this series, we're going to look at some things and go, okay, let's challenge some of the things we may have heard before or thought previously. Did it come from the Bible or did it come from somebody and we just latched onto it? And if so, let's just ask God for the next 4 weeks, God, challenge my theology. You speak to me about my life, my family, my present, my future, because I'm yours. Amen? All right. Are you ready? A.W. Tozer says this. He says, what comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. And I think I agree. The more I've thought about that quote, the more I agree. What we think about God, our theology, is maybe the most important thing about us because it affects every other area of our life, doesn't it? Like whatever you think about God, it will affect how you handle your money. It will affect how you handle relationships, how you see marriage, how you see priorities in life, what makes your life a success or not. If you have kids one day, how you parent, like what we think about God affects every single area of our life. And so that's why I'm so excited to get into this series and ask God to speak to us about our theology. Bad theology, week number 1, I gotta earn God's love. And you see it up there and you go, no, I would never believe that. As I start talking about this, I think a whole bunch of us are gonna go, wait a second. I think to some degree, I've started to let that mentality sink in to my beliefs and thoughts about God. God, am I earning your love? Is that how it works? And I know what that feels like because at 24, I got invited to a church service. I was a suicidal, drug-addicted mess. And I sat there going, I think I need God, I think I need God, I think I need God. And all I could think in my head after that thought was, but he wouldn't want me. Because look at me. If you've ever dealt with any of that stuff, let God challenge your theology today. Let God show you what it really looks like to receive his love and how it has absolutely nothing to do with what you do or don't do and everything to do with what his son's already done. That's what he's about to teach. And that's what Jesus is about to show these guys. So he's got bad theology and it's keeping him from the Father. I'll set out and I'll go back to my Father. I can't be his son. He won't want me. So I'll go to him and I'll say, Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you, and I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. I know you won't let me back in the house. I know I've ruined the relationship of trying to be your son and you like loving me, liking me, wanting me, being proud of me. Like we're past all that. Can I just live out on the back 40 and I'll just work real hard for you? And maybe someday you'll have some pity on me and think, well, he's worked hard enough for long enough. I'll give him a chance. And I just felt like God said, somebody needs to hear this today. Don't let this be your story. Don't let that theology slip up there in your mind and keep you from the Father. I can promise you the Father wants you. Don't settle for a life that he doesn't have in store for you because you're afraid he doesn't want you. He wants you. So you might have to take some of that bad theology and just flip it. I was reading it this week and I thought, I think we have a lot more in common with the character that we often refer to as the prodigal son. I think we have a lot more in common with him than sometimes I think about, because at the end of the day, he's a kid who life happened and he found himself feeling distant from the Father and then feeling really, really shameful about the reason that there's distance. and making the assumption that the Father wouldn't want him back. And I thought, man, we know what that feels like. At least I do. That's the picture Jesus wants us to have in our mind when it comes to our thoughts about the Father. Too many of us have this picture of God with his arms crossed and just super annoyed with us all the time. And Jesus goes, no, that's bad theology. Good theology is your God is like this, and he's got his arms wide open. And the second you look his way, he's gonna come running and pick you up and kiss you and hug you and say, welcome home, son. Welcome home, daughter. You don't earn my love. You're my kid. You just got it.